They tend to favor the people belonging to their particular religious belief. Hence, they sow the seeds of discontent, and as discontent increases, they use increasing force to suppress, and this in turn provokes further anger and sometimes insurgency. This is what we witness around the world. If each of us look at the root causes of conflicts around the world, including in the Middle East, you will find some commonalities on how conflict started. It is to be expected that states firmly address security threats emanating from extremist ideologies. But the use of measured and proportional force might at times be required. At times it might be required. But a wiser and a more effective strategy is one that encompasses dialogue, accommodates critical views, embraces ethnic and religious diversity, and political plurality. Heavy-hand security approach alone is never suffice to ensure permanent security. It produces opposite effect. In the 21st century, politics, in the era of social media, of cyber and instant journalism, power is more diffuse and inevitably is shared with the common person, the restless youth, students and intellectuals, workers and farmers. Decision-making is no longer an exclusive privilege of political dynasties or hereditary monarchies and the rich. We can see from the street demonstration from cities in Brazil to Turkey, the Occupy Wall Street movement, protests in the past in cities in UK, France, alert us to the fact there are more to individuals and society than economic growth and closing trade figures. Will the ASEAN community be a community of actual communities with shared values and the people-to-people solidarity, or it will be a copy of the over-bureaucratized and overpaid European Union, Brussels-based bureaucrats disconnected from the real people of Europe? Ambassador, I am sorry for criticizing the European Union, but I gave a speech once in Brussels at the European Parliament. I was there on a state visit as president. And the part when I got the biggest applause from all the parliamentarians was when I referred to EU bureaucracy. So it seemed like I was not alone in criticizing the European bureaucracy. And in the meantime, I lost where I am. Now I found it. One way to bring the 700 million people of the ASEAN region closer to each other is through literature, art and cinema. Maybe there should be more effort in having the great works of Southeast Asian, Indonesian writers translated into the many languages of the region and be made available by way of subsidized prices. If the economies of ASEAN, the governments, leaders of ASEAN really want to connect the people, one way is to subsidize literature, is to subsidize arts in different languages of the ASEAN region to bring people really close together. It's one way. I'm not saying this is the way. I submit that Indonesia, the Philippines, and Timor-Leste are the three Southeast Asian countries with the freest media and the most political pluralism and inclusion. And there have been setbacks and dangerous trends in some other countries in our region. As in Indonesia, in the weeks and months following the fall of the Suharto regime in 98, 99, Myanmar is beginning what promised to be a difficult transition to an open political space. In 98, 99, Indonesia was jolted by widespread ethnic and religious-based violence, namely in Kalimantan, where thousands of people were killed during the Dayak Buginese confrontations, or in Ambon, where Christian-Muslim violence took place. Myanmar is going through similar challenges, and it might wish to learn from Indonesia how to manage the complex process of transition from an authoritarian regime to a full-fledged, dynamic, multi-party democracy with all its imperfections. Indonesia remains very much an inclusive and tolerant society, where many ethnic and religious groups live side by side. Intermittent or frequent anti-Christian violence does not obscure this fact. With the largest Muslim majority in the world, and hundreds of ethnic minorities and a multitude of faiths, Indonesia continues to stand out positively when compared with other states around the world. The new Myanmar leaders, led by Daw Aung Suu Kyi, must address the sensitive issue of the Rohingya communities and their relationship with the Muslim minority. It requires strong leadership, courage, and serenity. Suu Kyi is attempting to do what wise leaders do, and that is exercise maximum prudence, manage sensibly the conflicting interests and forces in the country, carefully weigh every step in the long and arduous journey towards a truly free, democratic, and inclusive multi-ethnic Myanmar. We too, Timorese leaders, were criticized, rightly so, by some in our own country and abroad for refusing to support the creation of a special interest tribunal to judge past crimes in Timor-Leste. I was often criticized by our NGOs, by Amnesty International, for actively opposing the setting up of an international tribunal for the violence of 99. Our critics are entitled to criticize us, and they stand on high moral ground when they do so. There is no question about that. Their position of criticizing us is irreproachable from an intellectual, moral point of view. However, then and now, we believe that the cause of justice, human rights, and democracy in Timor-Leste